Welcome. This is the Pat McAfee Show. Obviously, I'm not Pat McAfee. I'm AJ Hawk. I will be sitting here all week for Pat. He's somewhere on a beach on vacation, a much-deserved vacation. So I appreciate Pat letting me sit in here and letting the guys leave a few guys back for me. It's just it's going to be a fun week. We're excited. If you can hear, Pat's got this wonky chair. I keep knocking my feet into it, making noise right off the bat, right when we jump on the air. But this is a great place. It's my first time here at this studio in Indy, so looking forward to having a great week of shows. It's going to be a fun time. We had some excitement over the weekend. The XFL has kicked off, all kind of rule changes there. I think that there's a couple of them that it seems like everybody is on board with, and they would love to see the NFL go to at some point, maybe even next year. So we have a good show lined up. Peter Schrager will be here at 10:35 Eastern. Maybe we'll ask him a little bit about the XFL rules and see what's going to happen and see if there is a quick turnaround. If Roger Goodell will get on it and try to make maybe even the replay review process a little more transparent like the XFL has done. But let me introduce the guys a little bit. You know them. We got Ty Schmidt here. Cuban Zito is here. I always tell him I wish he would light his cigar when I'm watching him. He won't do it. They have a fire suppression system here. Boston Connor, we got him on the phones today at least. I don't know if he's going to be here all week. We will see. And then Jay McAfee is here as always. Love to have these guys, a family atmosphere. But you know what? Let's listen to a little bit of Chase Rice.
It's the perfect occasion for a little vacation from the heart of the nation. Not your medication, 2 hours of magic. Let's give it a go. Ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
All right, here we are. The number for anyone that wants to call in, 1-833-622-3331. We may be taking some callers here a little bit later in the show, maybe early. I don't know. But the first thing I wanted to start with, the XFL. So our fearless leader, Pat McAfee, was on the sidelines last night. And as always, when Pat does anything, it seems to get a little bit of traction out there on the internet. And I think one of the funnier things, Pat had a situation with Marquette, don't call me Marquette King, where he had a beautiful bomb, and Pat had he was a little bit upset for one of the gunners or whoever tried to down this thing, and I think we may have some audio or something if we want to throw to that quick, Zito. Maybe we don't. I don't know.
These guys back there, mics are muted.
We'll see. They tell me, I was asking before we got on the show, so hey, if I want to go to a clip or something, what do we do? Like, oh, don't worry, everything is lined up. They're there, their fingers on the button. Like the nuclear codes. If we have, you got to carry the football, the little briefcase football for the president for the nuclear codes. That's what they said. Like, hey, we'll be ready. You guys, you just throw to a break or you throw to a clip. We want, bam, it's there before you know it.
While they're trying to find that, overall, what was your takeaway from the XFL? I mean, as a guy who played, you probably remember the first iteration of the XFL. What were your expectations going into it?
See, I think for me, I talk about all the time about managing expectations, and I use the example of watching movies on airplanes. Say you're on a long flight, and you're flipping through, they have the screen, you want to watch a movie, your expectations are pretty low. So going into it, I may see an average movie. I'm like, you know what? It's pretty good. It was good. I'm on a movie. I'm on a plane. It's a movie. It's a great thing. It's a magical. I even get to do this. So the expectations were low to going in. I think with the XFL, I was hopeful, but my expectations weren't real high. And I think if there's ever been a successful first weekend for an expansion league, this has been an absolute success so far. My whole question is it sustainable? Can you continue this? Do you think this is sustainable? I know that we're going to come out of the gates hot and get a lot of hype, but the one thing they have going for them, they have a couple great things, and the first thing that I feel like is an overwhelming success is the replay process and the review. Like I talked to Dean Blandino, I believe on one of the Sirius XM shows I do, or maybe a podcast, and I told him a while ago, months ago, I said, Dean, why don't we have cameras there and we listen to what the conversation is between the referee on the field, the person in New York, whoever's in the booth, what they're doing. And the XFL is doing exactly that. And I think, at least when you look online and you watch things, everyone says, this is amazing. Why doesn't the NFL do it? And the NFL probably says, yeah, it looks like a good idea. It sounds like a good idea. But I'm guessing they're a little weary of that transparency because you may put your foot in your mouth if you're in New York or you're up in the booth or you're one of the referees. People are like, what do you mean? We expect these guys to be professionals. And when you listen to them talk, sometimes it doesn't come across that way. But I think that part, at least, like, do you think that the replay process and the transparency is 100% success so far?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say so. I think just like you said, that's a big part, I think, what like casual fans want, not only with that, but like with hearing the offensive coordinators bring in their calls.
Yeah, what'd you think of that when you hear the coordinators?
I like it.
Isn't it funny listening to them stumble a little bit?
Oh, yeah.
Like you would imagine, like you're thinking these guys are robots. They spend 21 hours a day in their office. This is what they do. They build these play sheets, and you listen to them call plays sometimes like, trips right Z. Oh, no. And they're stumbling through it a little bit. I think it's fun. It's cool to see.
Yeah, it's really interesting, especially if, I mean, I feel like that's a world where so few people, like, I mean, you can be a diehard football fan and have no idea about that dynamic of the game. So I think introducing that, like, it's smart. Why not? It takes away
the
the
NFL will
downtime.
never do that, though.
Yeah, exactly. The NFL would never do that.
Ever. Because coaches, you know why? Coaches, players, executives, they are the most paranoid people on the planet. Every NFL coach, any level. If you want to ask a coach, like, hey, what are you guys doing here? Like, I notice on third down, if you're talking to a D coordinator or something, you could say, I notice on third down sometimes you tend to match up and you like to kick your three technique inside. He's a little head up or a little two eye or whatever. Like, what's that going on? What's the plan? What's the idea behind that? And they'll just look at you and think, well, we just gotta week to week, we gotta change things and we gotta keep things going and keep our heads down and we gotta just try to take it one game at a time. And they give you no answer because they're so paranoid. They're so scared of this secret info getting put out there when everyone's doing similar things. And I can sit here and watch the film and see what you're doing. I don't know exactly why you're doing it. So there's no like secrets like they think, but coaches for some reason are scared to death of their stuff getting out there.
Yeah, for one, I think that was my favorite part because, like, the NFL replay or any of those shows the NFL Network does where it's got guys mic'd up, I typically think that's, like, some of the best content that they release. The only thing that worries me is going forward, it seemed like, at least during Pat's game, I watched it on a flight, so I don't know if this was due to the connection, but it seemed like they were a little more jumpy on the dump button after that D lineman dropped an F-bomb.
Yeah. Was that the first game?
Yeah, it was. It was right out of the gate, I think. So,
well, the funny thing is he drops the F-bomb, and then they mute him for the next 3 seconds.
Exactly.
No, it's already – damage is done, buddy. Might as well keep it on now. We'll get some good content.
Do you like the post-play interview?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I think it can be weird. I almost feel for Pat when you're trying to run up and get interviews. Like I've done things I remember I worked the Ohio State Clemson Media Day back at the Fiesta Bowl years ago for Sirius XM, and I just had to stand there in a room with, I don't know, 100 or so media people from national publications and local news channels, and I have to go up there with a mic. We were live on Sirius XM at the time. We weren't recording anything, and try to bump in. I try to bump in with 15 people surrounding a certain player or coach, and I'm like, hey, what do you think about your kickoff return? How poor you guys have been. I have to jump in, and then the local guys are getting mad at me. Like, it's not a fun gig. It's not an easy gig. I'm really glad I did it. It was great, reps for me to be uncomfortable like that. But I do like the sideline interview a little bit. I think it is. I mean, I know I mentioned the Marquette King punt. Zito, what do you think about that? Do we have any audio of Pat?
Yeah, we do. Go ahead, Jay.
And he's punted the ball way too many times if you're St. Louis.
I concur.
This is another laser.
I concur, but whenever the wide receivers drop balls, you need a punter to save you with a perfect. What is he doing?
What?
What?
Hey, Pat almost ran out there and downed it himself.
Oh, that was the perfect. Just stay off the ball. Just don't even touch it. Marquette just hit a perfect punt. Just don't even touch it, buddy.
Wow, and it went right through the wickets. On Gerard Hurd.
First down from the 35-yard line.
Oh, my
Hit the
gosh.
field.
Okay. I mean, it's perfect. That's a legit organic reaction from Pat, obviously.
Yeah.
Pat is understandably very upset by that. And I understand. What is he doing? The ball stopped. That always would bug me when guys would go sprinting and roll into the end zone. Even if somehow you kicked it back and you got it, and you downed it at the one. It's really unnecessary to throw your big dumb body in at the ball and even have any kind of chance of rolling in. You just got to stop, put on the one.
With a situation like this where, like, it seems like they kind of threw the teams together quick, but, like, we didn't really know who the players were going to be at a certain point. Could you reason that, like, they haven't worked on special teams hardly at all?
Yeah, you could reason that they haven't worked on special teams, but all of those guys have played football. A lot of them have played football in the NFL.
Yeah.
A lot of them played big-time college football, too. You know better than that. Now, I get it. Everyone makes mistakes. Like, you're all juiced up. Oh, man, I can make a big play here, national TV. I got Pat McAfee on the sidelines. This is the best. It's a punt play. I'm going to go viral because Pat's commentating it. I mean, honestly, that could have gone through all of their heads.
For sure.
Absolutely, especially when they saw Pat peacocking out there during warm-ups, probably walking around in cut-off jean shorts and his Rick Vaughn cut-off tuxedo jacket or whatever he wore. But I get you get a little bit excited, but, man, that's a moment where you just got to – you got to hold your emotions a little bit or get just something. Take a breath.
That's an interesting point, too, because that was something that I was really surprised at is I figured, like, they don't really have – outside of, like, a couple of the quarterbacks, they don't really have any, like, marquee names, and I figured those sideline interviews would be a good opportunity for some of those guys to, like, really show their personality and make themselves, like, one of the de facto faces of the league, and I don't feel like any of the guys really did that. They were too focused on what was going on, which I guess makes sense, but –
yeah, well, I think as the season goes, they'll get more and more comfortable, and they understand the game. Like, hey, they want to build stars. They want people to get out there. They want one of these sideline interviews to turn into something that we all want to tune in and see. Like, what is it, Rex Chapman on Twitter, blocker charge? Like, they want it to become a thing. And the players, I understand, because when I was a player, you're scared of your coaches. Like, what are you talking about? I can't do this. But now with the XFL, there's no secret. This is what we want. We want, like, the coaches are big. No, go. We need to pub the league. We need this thing to continue. Go talk to these guys. Go show your personality. I think the coaches understand that too. I was in Green Bay Packers for 9 years. My linebacker coach, Winston Moss, is the head coach of the LA team. And trust me, Winston, I think, is looking to become a name. He wants to. He hasn't really been. He didn't act like that in their game they have. But I know he understands the game, and he understands. He's a big personality. He's a big dude. He played at the U back with Michael Irvin and all those guys. So he understands, like, the show and what it is. And I think if you watch, like, the LA team, I think they're going to show their personalities a little bit, because I think he's going to be encouraging his players to do that as well. But I think that week one, absolute success, though, don't you think?
Yeah. If you just look at like Twitter and stuff like that, which is typically one of the most, like, negative places there is, I saw very little negative feedback. I mean, I think everyone was pretty excited to watch those games, and they were pretty happy with the product on the field.
So what happens next week?
I don't know. We'll see.
It jumps around. The good thing is that the number one thing they have going for them, the games are on ESPN, Fox, is it CBS as well?
And ABC, I think.
Yeah, so you have big-time networks carrying the games. It's not too hard to find them. The AAF, you couldn't really find the games. Is it CBS Sports? Is it streaming? What is it? Now, though, the games jump around a little bit, don't they? I think on where they play them, or is it the same?
I think they do jump around a little bit, but I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I think the gambling angle, I don't know if that's going to scare away people. It seemed like the lines and the over-under on every game were pretty much the same, and I think it was pretty evident that they had no idea what to expect. It was kind of just a shot in the dark, but I think the gambling aspect, we don't really have anything else to watch these next couple weeks before the NCAA tournament starts. I think that's at the very least going to keep people watching it.
How did they get those lines? Like,
that
was
makes
insane.
Them? That's so impossible to make.
It was 52 points for Pat's game, and
it just shows you they don't know.
Yeah,
it's like the early days of the UFC. I have some buddies that were pretty knowledgeable in MMA, and back in the day, they were like, "This is the best," because the handicappers haven't caught up to the sport yet. So there was a lot of great things to be had early on. Now they've caught up. The sport's big enough. Whatever. We'll talk a little bit later about John Jones retaining his belt as light heavyweight champ over there in the UFC. A fun, controversial fight that some people may have thought he lost to Dominic Reyes, who it was a great fight no matter what. But we need to get to a break here. We will be back shortly.
freeing themselves from their wireless contracts. It's a movement towards something simple.
Get truly unlimited data on a 5G-ready network for just $45 a month.
With no contract, ever.
Simple Mobile. Out with the old, in with the simple.
We're back. We got nothing in my ear. Sorry about that. We are back. Working through some of the kinks early on, but you know what? We're going to go to the phone lines 1-833-622-3331. Let's go to Nick in Kansas City. I cannot wait to hear this question that he has. Nick, how you doing? Good. He's doing great, isn't he? Huh? You guys hear him? You guys hear him, don't you?
I thought Nick was going to bring the heat there. I don't know what he's doing. I guess he's just falling asleep at the wheel. That's on Nick.
Nick in Kansas City. Well, we'll move on from Nick, but he wanted to know who has the best chance at an XFL championship. I think it's a little premature, Nick. We're only one weekend in. We don't really know these teams. They haven't taken on their identity yet, these teams. So I think we need to to really just give it some time to breathe and let them build the culture up in those locker rooms, and then we can start talking about XFL championships. But let's try Joey in North Carolina. Joey, what's going on? That's cool. You not there either, Joey? I don't think you're sending it through. Yeah, I might not be. I'm sure I'm not. What do you want me to do if I click on it? Do I do anything else? I'm just pressing on it.
Might need to get Billy YouTubes in here to rewire the system.
Oh, here we go. Maybe we got him. Joey, you there in North Carolina?
Classic.
No, he's not.
Joey.
There he is.
Hey, what's up? I wanted to talk about the kickoff and the rule changes. You know, I'm a Bears fan, so I've seen Devin Hester play. I know you're an X-Packer, but I want to see some touchdowns this year, you know, some kickoff returns, touchdowns.
So do you think that these kickoffs help with that or hurt?
I think it helps because, you know, neither team can move until, you know, the receiving team catches the ball. So I think it makes it easier for a touchdown to happen, you know, makes it more exciting.
I think the kickoff rule is great because, so for people that don't know, they line up at the 30, like the opponent's 35-yard line, and then the blockers line up at the 30, and you're only 5 yards apart, and they can't move until the guy receives the ball. And if it's a touchback or goes out of bounds, the ball goes to 35. So you're going to try to pop them up there and make them return these things. But it cuts down on those super high-impact, like long-range collisions where you're running with 50 yards of steam and you can lower your head and send somebody into the twilight zone. So I like that part about it. I think they're going to kind of work it out. It seems kind of difficult to work on your blocking schemes and everything when you're only 5 yards away, but you like it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll take a while to get everything used to with the, you know, like you said, the blocking schemes. But player safety, I think, is the main concern for that. And I think that definitely tackles player safety. You know, the NFL might be looking to take some things away from the XFL, such as those type of rules, because everything's about player safety now and watching out for CTE. And you know, Antonio Brown went crazy after that Burfict hit, so you know they're trying to watch out for the players, and you know we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, Joey, I appreciate the call. Thank you very much. Let's check out Phil in Chattanooga. What's happening, Phil? We'll see. You know what? This touchscreen that
it's
Pat
very
has,
tricky.
You may press it a few times. He wants to talk about XFL rule changes as well. Phil might be there now. Phil, what's happening in Chattanooga?
What's going on, AJ?
How you doing? What'd you like about the XFL? Also, what'd you not like about the XFL this weekend?
Well, I mean, I liked a lot about the XFL. I like some of the rule changes. I love the extra point after. You can go for 1, 2, or 3. I love that. And I love the new kickoffs. I'm not sure I like what they're being paid, and that was the question I wanted to ask you.
How much are they being paid? I don't even know.
I've heard $55,000 to $500,000.
But they have a cash prize at the end, though, right? If they win it all.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
I assume they do. $55,000 to $500,000. That's a hell of a gap.
I believe
that's a lot.
I believe the quarterbacks are being paid around $500,000 because they're like exclusive contracts and they can't go elsewhere. But I think the average salary is like $55,000.
Well, I mean that's better than what was going on in the AAF.
Yeah,
AAF guys weren't really getting paid. Do you remember what was the UFL years ago?
Yep.
I mean, what 6 years ago,
Yeah.
7, 8 years ago, maybe. Those guys, I had friends that played. There's a lot of really good players that were in the UFL. I believe it was called the UFL.
Sounds right.
But yeah, I know guys that played in it that played 6 or 7 games or 5, 6 games and never got paid. Didn't get any money.
I think the winners also share like $100,000 for every game they win too, or something like that.
Oh, okay, there we go. Phil, what about the replay process? Phil in Chattanooga, did you like the transparency that we got in the replay booth when they had the camera right there and listened to the people talk back and forth?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I absolutely love that. I thought honesty, especially with what's going on with the Astros and the Red Sox and everything, and all the Al Riveron stuff in the NFL. The transparency was perfect for fans. I hope the NFL will adopt that, even though I don't think they will.
Yeah, we'll see. Thanks for the call, man. I appreciate you, but I don't know. Like, if there is a rule that will be pressure, the NFL will feel pressure from the fans, from everybody that comes from the XFL. I believe it's the review. It's the transparency. Like, how many different people from all walks of life did you see on Twitter? Did you see if you just you're walking down the street and, I mean, I don't know if there's a whole lot of chatter about the XFL when I'm walking down the street at the water cooler, as they say, but there is a little bit today. I mean, especially coming off the pretty successful first weekend. But I feel like that's the thing where everyone's like, this is great. Like, didn't the Skycam come from the original XFL back in 2001 or whenever it was? The Skycam, which is everywhere now, like it's all over the place, that came from the XFL. So people will start to see, even if this league doesn't work out, some things will come from this league that will spill into the NFL that will make it better for viewers, at least at home and in the stadium. And I think the review process is a no-brainer. The NFL should absolutely do it. There's no reason not to, other than you don't want to be transparent, because you got to be a little bit vulnerable. Like if you're those guys, if you're Dean Blandino and you're sitting there and you're talking back and forth with the referee on the sideline, he's probably gonna get nervous. Like if you watch the one clip, I think the first guy, you could tell he would lean back and he'd be out of frame from the camera, and you just saw the screen and the lady sitting there, the lady sitting at the next computer, and then 100% in his ear, producer said, "Hey, lean up. We got to get your head in the shot," because he was leaned back. And then all of a sudden he just popped his little head up and he said, "Okay, Jim, I think he didn't lead with the crown of his helmet. He didn't launch. This is okay. We're good to go." And then he leaned back again. Then he leans back, and he's leaning in and out of frame. So guys are that's gonna be another job that's created from that, or that people may want to go after. I mean, was it Mike Pereira kind of made that a business, being the network like referee analyst that's in the booth? And I've done games on Fox FS1. And we had, like, Dean we could go to. We were in meetings before the game. They say, okay, well, who's our referee? Who can we go to for if there's a review? Dean's sitting in the studio. We dial him up. We ask him, and Dean tells us what he thinks going to happen during this review process. So now if we get to see all of it, why wouldn't they? Like, I guess what is the NFL scared of?
I don't know. I mean, I think they saw all the backlash this year, and you got a guy up there who maybe can't explain it the way people want to hear it. Like that's the thing, is like it makes sense. They should do it, but it seems like the NFL is never in a position. It's like they don't need to appease the fans. Everyone's still going to watch it. It's like, hey, guess what? We don't need to change the product, even though this is something that could very clearly make it better and more watchable.
Did you see the Xbox controller guy?
No. What was that?
On the Stevie right here. He's using an Xbox controller to look over the review.
I mean, I don't think that's a great idea. I don't think that makes your league look super professional. Really? I didn't see that.
It's outrageous, though.
Can't we get him a clicker? Just get him the little clicker.
So everyone else was using like a mouse and stuff, but he was the only one using an Xbox controller, and I just was laughing so
hard. Was he more efficient than the other guys? Was he good?
He didn't blow the call, so
he was moving very fast with the Xbox controller. I got to say, of all the games I watched, that was the best replay we saw.
Wow. I did not see that one. I guess... Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. Maybe don't show his hands. Just show chin up in the monitor. Don't show what he's doing. Yeah, I think that's my takeaway from the weekend for the XFL was I think it went as well as they could have imagined. Vince McMahon's got to be happy. Mm-hmm. I think the coaches, everyone is playing in the league, they're happy. I think it seems like, this is going to be good. It's going to be a fun year for the XFL. But my whole question is it sustainable? Are we going to see it next year? Is there an appetite for it? What do you think?
Yeah, so I think the big thing too is what it was reported that I think Rovell reported that they sold more tickets this weekend than the AAF did in their entire season. But Vince McMahon is talking; he doesn't want this to be a flash in the pan. The whole point of this is like a long game, so that this could eventually turn into a feeder league for the NFL. I think it comes back to the play. You know, I mean, if the play on the field is good enough to get you to watch it for 2 hours,
is it though, or is it? But don't you need to be invested in some certain players? Like the play, too. I feel like the play is good. Like there's a lot of great football players that never even sniffed the NFL,
right.
Never got a chance. But I don't know if that's enough. Like, do you need to have one or two superstars per team? I don't even want to have to say superstars, but one or two like known faces and names to have people personally invested. I know for myself, like, I have a hard time sitting there and just watching a random NBA basketball game.
Sure.
But if I know somebody on the team, or I had somehow in a roundabout way, I've been around a few of the guys and I like them, I think they're cool, I want to watch. But if not, like, I have a real tough time staying invested, and that's when it comes to the gambling aspect.
Right.
If you want to be invested in a game, put some money on it. You're still not invested, put some more money on it. Then you'll be invested.
Well, and I think that's what makes it so much tougher. I mean, like Zito mentioned, the over-under of that game Pat was doing was 52.5, and it was 3-0 at halftime. It's like, all right, well, if this is the case, it's obviously you have to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt when you're going in and putting money on these games.
It's a great opportunity, isn't it, for gamblers?
Oh, yeah, big time.
It was 53 was the over-under, and Pat's game ended up 15-9.
Yes.
That's awesome. This is a golden opportunity for all you degenerate gamblers out there. Or if you're not a degenerate gambler, maybe you can become one, and the XFL is your way to shoehorn into that process. But we're going to take another quick break here. We got Peter Schrager coming back on the other side. Let's see how Peter did down in Miami for the Super Bowl. And just check in on all of the jobs he has. It's going to be a fun one. Come on back.
At Simple Mobile, you get the no contract advantage. Unlimited talk, text, and data now for $30 a month. Now on a 5G ready network with no activation fees ever. No confusion, no complexity, no frustration, and no contract. Ever, ever, ever. Now get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a month. And now 5G ready. It's our best deal ever. Buyers now at nationwide retailers or at Simple Mobile dealers. Learn more at simplemobile.com. Simple Mobile, out with the old, in with the simple.
Welcome back. There it is. We are back. This is the Pat McAfee Show. I am AJ Hawk, sitting in for Pat all of this week. He's on a much-deserved vacation, so hope he's having a great time. And we have our next guest is Peter Schrager, and we will be with him shortly. But I'm interested in talking to Peter. He's kind of all over the place. His NFL AM, the show that he is on.
Good Morning Football.
Good Morning Football, whatever
Same
NFL
difference.
AM is. Who knows? Like, what is that? Was he on that? I know. I was trying to compare Good Morning Football with NFL AM time. But yeah, it's actually, I remember when the show kicked off, when Good Morning Football started out of New York. I went and did the show maybe within the first 3 or 4 months it was on the air, and it was cool. Kyle Brandt's on there, Nate Burleson, Kay Adams. It's a really good show, and it's really gained a bunch of traction, like a bunch of heat. People love it. So I think we have Peter Schrager with us. He is on the line. Peter, how you doing?
What's up, man? Congrats on doing this. This is cool.
Oh, thanks, Peter. You walking the streets of New York City right now?
This is the real deal. This is authentic. Stars are just like us. I'm walking around New York.
Oh, man. We're not going to be able to talk to you. People are going to be stopping you the whole time trying to take pictures.
Yeah, sure. No, like, hello, folks. They don't give a crap about me, man. Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing about living in New York City. So, Peter, you're all over the place. You work for everybody, Fox NFL Network. I guess, how was your Super Bowl experience first?
Dude, you know, it was such a wild ride because we did the Good Morning Football show on Thursday and Friday from Miami, and then Sunday was like real deal Super Bowl. I was working for Fox, and at the end of it, you're like, wow, I just witnessed history because 50 years those fans were waiting. And of course, you know what it's like when a fan base wants that Super Bowl and then they finally have the opportunity to enjoy it and relish in it. And it was just amazing to be a part of it. I was on the field, rare opportunity for me as a reporter when the Chiefs won. And to see the confetti falling and Andy Reid hugging Mahomes. I don't get sentimental too often, but it was really, really cool to be a part of that, or at least to be there firsthand.
What about the Chiefs? I think everyone's trying to say now, like, oh, they're a dynasty. They're going to continue to do this. The over-under on Pat Mahomes for Super Bowl rings is like 4 or 5. And people think he's just going to run away with it. Do you think they're going to be able to find a way to keep enough guys around and pay Patrick Mahomes $200 million and still compete for the Super Bowl for the next 15 years?
It's funny because, like, the next day, that Monday morning, a conversation topic on Good Morning Football was, all right, now they got to pay Mahomes. This is sustainable. I'm like, could we just give it a minute? Like, could we just give it a minute to enjoy this moment before we do that? But that's the world we live in. I think they can. The way they built this team from the inside out, they base it on the quarterback. You can pay him all you want, but there's just so many weapons. The fact that Damian Williams, who was not a highly touted draft pick, who was not a first-round pick, was one of the stars of the Super Bowl. The fact that they get Mecole Hardman in the draft in the second round. And the fact that they rebuilt their defense overnight in the offseason. I mean, they had 8 new defensive starters from last year, and that meant signing Honey Badger and signing Frank Clark. I feel like they've got one of the best front offices in the league, one of the best coaching staffs in the league, and they have the best quarterback in the league. So, yes, I have no doubt they'll be right back where they are as far as one of the league's best teams next year. And I think for the foreseeable future, as long as Mahomes is quarterback, all things are possible.
Have you paid any attention to their Chiefs kind of their party tour? I know they had the parade. I saw Mahomes at a Post Malone concert, and it's a really cool video of him walking in, and the whole arena just goes crazy. And they didn't announce he was coming. They just saw him, and the whole place looked at it. And now they're in Vegas. What do you think of their whole party train? How long is too long for this Super Bowl party to go?
Remember we used to call it the banquet season when a guy would go on the Heisman banquet and, like, put on 20 pounds, show up to the bowl game, and lose by 30? You know what's crazy? Like, Mahomes is 24 years old, so I'm looking at him all day at the parade, chugging beers. Then he gets to the Post Malone concert, he's chugging beers, and I'm like, how does he have the energy? And you forget just how much energy he has a 24-year-old. You add in the fact that he's got, like, a baseball playing background, and those guys just can throw back. I think they're great. They're fine. There's so much youth there that they're going to be all right. But if I'm them, enjoy the next few months. Take a couple of weeks to enjoy this the way they're enjoying it hardcore, and then just relish in it, and then get back to the table and get to it. But the crazy thing about the Post Malone concert was it wasn't just Mahomes, but you had, like, backstage, Colquitt, the punter, Paul Rudd, Post Malone. Like, this has been there's New York for you. Sorry. That's New York for you. All right, guys. But yeah, no, they're all enjoying it, and it goes right down to the fans. Paul Rudd and the rest, they're all enjoying it. And I think take as much time as you want and relish it. It's been 50 years in the making. And Mahomes, 24 years old, if he wants to have a drink or two, he can.
I agree. They can go and enjoy themselves and have a great time. But I wanted to jump to the XFL quickly. I'm not sure how much you have seen on the opening weekend of the XFL. Everyone, we've been talking on the show, but the transparency in the replay process is a huge thing that seems to be the talk of the town. Everybody likes. Like, what do you think of that? And do you think it's possible for the NFL to implement this in the next year or two?
At the very least, if this is a testing ground for the NFL, and we could try something. Like, I love the fact that the host of your show, that Pat was on the field, like interviewing guys in real time as a sideline reporter who has to wait for the guy to get out of the tent and then clear PR and then do all that. Like, it was refreshing to see it the way they were doing it. But the replay thing seems like it's very simple. Let's be transparent. Let's have that conversation. Let's see. At the very least, it would do away with any conspiracy theory that's out there with, the NFL wants this team to win and the NFL wants that team to win. I think the XFL is a great testing ground for some new innovation with the NFL and the replay thing for sure.
Is the XFL sustainable, though, after this year?
I don't know. Like, I almost feel like I got burned by the AAF a little bit last year. Like, I jumped in. I was like a big fan of, like, the San Antonio Stampeders, whatever they were called. Like, I'm in. And then they were told, like, everyone's going nuts after a week. And as a Fox employee, I'm rooting for it. And as someone who's really impressed with this past week, the way the nation responded. But I've been burned by these upstart leagues. So let's see exactly after a couple of weeks and maybe a couple of seasons before we jump all in. But shit, to me, more football, the better, dude.
Yeah, I agree. Why not? And it keeps the gamblers happy if you love to bet on games, and that's a big thing.
You're into that thing.
They're leaning into that hard, and you can tell. And it's a good thing. Why not? But actually, the Oscars. Did you watch the whole show? And what are your thoughts, man? Any surprises for you?
I did watch some of it. I thought Steve Martin and Chris Rock were great right off the top, so I was into that. They were hilarious. I thought seeing Eminem come back after 17 years of not performing to then be at the Oscars stage was great. But I got to be honest, I saw all these movies except one. The only one I didn't see was Parasite. So now I got to see Parasite. But I saw it 1917, loved it. Thought Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was great. I actually liked Marriage Story. I thought it was like tough to watch, but good. The movie that got screwed, though, and you tell me if you saw this, I thought Uncut Gems was crazy. Did you see Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler?
I haven't seen it. I want to. I really want to see it, but Adam Sandler had an amazing acceptance speech at the Spirit Awards. I know that.
Yes, and it's nuts. Like, it is a wild movie, and it's the movie that I was left shaking from the most out of all of them. So I thought, what's Best Picture mean and all this stuff? I was like, at least get nominated. I didn't see Little Women. Maybe Little Women was awesome. I didn't see the Parasite that won. Maybe it was awesome. But I can't imagine leaving a theater and feeling more shaken up than I did with Uncut Gems. So I'm going to make the argument that Uncut Gems deserves a little love, but I'll give Parasite its moment today.
Okay, that got me thinking. If you were to win an Oscar, which is not out of the equation, like that could happen. You're all over the place.
Sure.
In your acceptance speech, would you go for like sentimental, I'm crying, I'm thanking everybody, or are you going to be funny and try to leave a mark, or maybe truly like super inspirational? I know they play clips of some of those guys that are like yelling to the crowd and everyone starts standing up. Like, which route would you take?
I think it's one of those deals where you prepare a speech and you think you're going to go one route, and then the moment happens and the moment takes over. Like, I was watching some of the speeches this morning. The Korean director of Parasite shouted out Martin Scorsese, and there was an impromptu standing ovation. That's awesome. That's like, never forget it. And then Joaquin Phoenix was questioning the virtues of milk, which is an interesting take. You have that moment. That's an interesting take. That's just what happens in the moment. So to me, I think I would shout out my loved ones. I would have a good time with it. And then we'd see where it was. Wait a second. Nate Burleson's crossing the street right now.
Oh,
we might have to get him on. Some FaceTime here. This is AJ Hawk. He's hosting the Pat McAfee show today.
What's up,
What's
AJ?
up, Nate? How you doing, man? It's good. I tell Peter, like, you never know who you're going to see in New York, man. You guys just cruising down the street. How you doing, man?
I'm cooling, man. Can't complain, bro. How you doing, bro?
Oh, doing great. We were talking about the XFL. Did you like the XFL, man?
I did. I enjoyed it, man. I love the exclusive access on the sideline. Being able to talk to a player as soon as something happens, that's something that we haven't seen. Because usually guys get a chance to get their thoughts together, collect themselves. But to run up on a kicker after he misses it, or a quarterback after he throws an interception, I think that's something that the people want. I mean, as a former player, like, I'm a fan of the game, and I thought that was a different aspect that I haven't seen in football before.
We disagreed on something, though, today. Nate loved the movie Joker. I wasn't a fan. AJ, what'd you think of Joker?
Man, you're talking about another thing I haven't seen. My 4 little kids, I don't go to the theater. I don't get to the theaters much, man. It's got to be on Netflix or iTunes for me to see it, really.
Hey,
You didn't see Joker.
no, come on, man. You got to see it. But Netflix got some good stuff out. Listen, me and Peter, we love comedies, so we're watching stand-up comedies all the time. But I will say this though, aside from everything else, hey, you were an absolute monster, bro. Monster. One of those dudes that I had to worry about when I crossed the middle of the field. So nothing but respect for you, bro.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Nate. Thank you very much, man. Peter, appreciate you grabbing stars all left and right for us, man. Thank you.
I'm our correspondent for the Pat McAfee show.
Yeah, you're doing great. I just have one or two more for you quickly. As you walk the streets and hear the fire trucks honk at you while you're jaywalking through New York City.
I'm getting in my Uber. All right.
So you're leaving. You're headed home now from Good Morning Football. Is that where you're going?
Yeah, we're leaving Good Morning Football. We just had a great show, and now I'm headed to Brooklyn, where I live. Brooklyn,
what's it like there? I know it's like the hot spot now.
It's pretty hip. So Brooklyn, where I live by the Barclays Center, which is downtown Brooklyn, but there's also different parts of Brooklyn like Williamsburg and other spots where everyone's got a handlebar mustache and brews their own beer and listens to Wilco. My neighborhood's not quite that, but I'm aspiring to someday be that hip. But it's a little outside the city where I'm at and a little bit more space for your dollar. And we just moved out there, and right now everyone's all about the Nets, and they're thinking, Kyrie and Durant are coming, but this year has not been that story. So I'm very fascinated to see how the sports scene goes in Brooklyn as well.
I guess, what sport do you not watch? Like, you seem to be pretty up on like all of the big things happening in all the major sports.
Yeah. You know what's really been lacking for me? College hoops this year. Are you watching Ohio State college hoops this season?
Well, a little bit. I do a show every Tuesdays on the Big Ten channel on Sirius XM, and we talk about it in the offseason. So, yeah, I'm watching all of them, every single game, Peter.
Okay, so let me ask you, if you're going Ohio State college basketball, I'm going to give you 5 names. You tell me which one was the greatest of all time. Okay, Greg Oden, all right? Mm-hmm. Mike Conley Jr.
Okay.
Let's go Jimmy Jackson. Let's go Lawrence Funderburk, and let's go Evan Turner. You got to pick one. Who you taking?
Wow. It's a great list. I'll take Mike Conley Jr.
Mike Conley Jr. He was fantastic. He's still in the NBA, still playing for Utah.
Still making tons of money, and he's a scratch golfer.
Bag.
I think he's a scratch golfer, too. He's a stud.
He is. Interesting hairstyle these days. I was shocked to see that. He has a new look.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, everyone, as you get older, you mature, you change. But last question, actually, I wanted to ask you. So you mentioned Eminem earlier. Is there a tougher audience than the audience at the Oscars to perform for if you are a rapper?
All right. So I was watching it live, and I'm with my wife, and I'm laughing, and I'm like, it's a tough spot to put the camera on Scorsese there. Like, he's nodding his head, but there's no way Scorsese's going to look cool in that situation. And, like, you've got, like, Adina Menzel, like, humming the words, and then, that is not a rap music crowd, and it might not necessarily even be an Eminem crowd. And, they did find a few people humming the words, but I think the crowd shots might have been unnecessary. You don't need Tom Hanks bopping his head to Eminem. Eminem speaks for itself. I'm not sure the director there needed to go to the crowd as often as they did during that performance.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's tough to look even somewhat cool if you're Martin Scorsese. Like, what's he supposed to do? You don't want him. I guess if he was, if you heard him, like, you could see him rapping the lyrics to all of Eminem's songs. That may elevate him a little bit, but I can't see it happening.
Scorsese, you're like, I freaking directed Gangs of New York. Like, let me be. Like, do you really need to? Am I expected to know the lyrics to lose yourself? No, come on.
Well, hey, Peter Schrager, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it. I know you're hustling. You're all over the place, but thanks for coming on the show.
No, dude, thank you. You're kicking ass. I love it, AJ. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. All right. Hey, so that made me think. What would you rather do? Would you rather, let's say you perform a song at the Oscars, a rap song, by the way, not like some ballad. That's the crowd that would love it. They would virtue signal all day and act like they love, this is amazing for the story and what it means for society and for everybody. Like, they love that. Or would you rather do a tight 5 of stand-up?
I don't know. It's tough because I feel like a type 5 of stand-up with that crowd, you got a lot of people who...
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. Like, making those guys laugh, like legit comedians and stuff like that, I think that's probably a little bit harder than going out there and just performing your music. And it had a tie-in. I mean, he won an Oscar for Lose Yourself, so, like, it made a little bit of sense. But, yeah, I mean, just tough spot to be in.
Yeah, it is. And it got me thinking. So Brad Pitt won for Best Supporting Actor in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
Mm-hmm.
and that's his first Oscar he's ever won, right?
Correct. Yep.
As an actor.
Mm-hmm.
How in the hell is that his first Oscar?
I don't know. It's just that's how it shakes out, and I feel like they do that. Like, you know, Leo got his first leading actor Oscar a couple years ago. Like at a certain point now, when these like icons are getting up there, whether he you know, he was very good in that, but to say that that's like his best performance all time, you know, I feel like at a certain point they
Snatch? Have you seen Snatch?
Oh yeah, Snatch is incredible. I feel like they just pick and choose. It's just like, all right, he's put in his time, he's paid his dues. Let's give it to him this year.
Yeah, a lot of times movies that win, like I'll look at movies that are nominated and then movies that won, and that is my guide on the movies I don't want to see.
Well, yeah, I mean the Academy is so full of themselves, and you know it's like it's almost one of those things where like
put a comedy in there. Why can't a comedy win an Academy Award?
Exactly,
because it's not like it's just like they're so above it. I don't get that.
It'll never happen. And I saw a lot of people saying too that them giving Parasite, you know, a South Korean film, the best picture last night, that was the same deal. It's like them being woke, patting themselves on the back, like, hey, look at what we did. You know, we gave this guy who no one thought he had a chance to win. We let him steal the show tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I hear it is a really good movie. I'll check it out. I mean, I'm not going to go off my old theory that I don't watch anything that's nominated. There's ones I want to see. I saw 1917. I thought that was solid. I haven't seen really any. I saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That was legit.
You were a paid ambassador for Toy Story 4. That won.
You're right.
That won best animated feature. So I meant to ask you
paid
about that.
ambassador.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they going to send you
give
an
me
Oscar?
some back end? They better give me some back end points on the movie and send me a little miniature Oscar that I can put on my mantle. You're right. I had a nice tweet a couple months ago. I think about Toy Story. That was Toy Story 4.
I believe so.
Yes, it was. Just got paid so much money for that, man.
So that's interesting, though. Like you and your wife almost never get to watch like a movie that you want to watch, do you?
No, if I go to the theater, it's to see like Jumanji with The Rock, or they want to see like the They haven't seen that Frozen 2 yet, but stuff like that. Yeah, I saw 1917 in the theater with my father-in-law and my brother-in-law. We made it and scheduled and went, and it was cool. But theaters now all have the sweet lay-down, full recliner seats, and I doze off and take a quick nap usually throughout any movie I go to now. So I actually enjoy it. I just don't get out there very much. I wait till they come on iTunes. Netflix obviously now is having more and more stuff. So it's I don't see as many movies as I would like. As we sit here and we wrap up this first hour of the show, we still have another great hour coming with a lot of different things going on around the world. I want to talk a little bit. I know the coronavirus is scaring everybody.
Oh, yeah. It really is.
You were traveling. You said a lot of people wearing masks,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, way more than I would have liked to see.
I'm going on a cruise next week. This Ohio State cruise for cancer. We go every year, and they raise money, and it's an amazing thing. But I keep getting these emails talking about, hey, if you've visited mainland China in the last 3 months, all this stuff, you got to go for extra screening. So all it told me was, if I have the sniffles or something, I'm not saying anything.
Yeah, that's probably
They'll lock
a good
me
move.
in the brig down at the bottom of the boat. So, nope, do not show any of that, and hopefully we don't get stuck in New Jersey. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Enjoy the next hour of the show. So we'll see you in a little bit.
One by one, it's happening. People are freeing themselves from the hassle and frustration of their wireless contracts. It's a movement towards something simple. Simple Mobile. Truly unlimited, high-speed talk, text, and data on a 5G-ready network. And no contract. Ever.
Get truly unlimited data on a 5G-ready network for just $45 a month. Simple Mobile. Out with the old, in with the simple.
It's the perfect occasion for a little vacation from the heart of the nation. Not your medication, 2 hours of magic. Let's give it a go. Ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
All right, here we go. Hour 2, we are back to Pat McAfee Show. I'm AJ Hawk, sitting in for Pat all this week. Having a good time here. The first hour went quickly. I want to thank Peter Schrager for coming on, even pulling Nate Burleson into the conversation. Found him walking on the street in New York City. Appreciate it. The number here, 1-833-622-3331 is the number if you want to call in and talk about really anything that's going on. But I wanted to jump to Ben in Boston. He's got a question about what the NFL is going to look like. What do you think, Ben? What's your question?
Hey, how's it going, AJ? What's up, man?
Oh, not too much. Just sitting here trying to get a lay of the land here.
Boston Connor there, answering the phones there.
Boston Connor, thank you. Appreciate all you guys.
I was just wondering, with us celebrating the 100 years of the NFL, do you think it's going to last another 100 years? And if so, what's it going to look like? Is it even going to resemble? Is it going to be the same game?
That's a heck of a question. That's a deep question.
Something I was thinking about.
Well, first, I'll let you know my opinion in a second. Do you think the NFL will be around in 100 years?
I think the brand will be. I don't think it'll be the same game at all. If it is,
what's it going to look like?
I feel like it'll probably merge with something else at some point, and it'll become something different.
What are you thinking? Robots?
Maybe something like that.
Well,
no, I mean with like a different company, and maybe they try and start something completely different. I mean, I really don't know. It's just something to think about.
I mean, it's a great question. I don't know if you've really hashed out all your answers on what you think it may look like. I know I haven't, but I appreciate you calling on that one. Thank you very much. I appreciate the call, Ben. But I'm not sure where he was going with that when he thought like it'll be the same brand, but it may look different, and they may team up with another company. What does that mean with the XFL?
Yeah, I don't think
that's talking about a merger.
That's never going to happen. The NFL is always going to be its own brand.
The Shield.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. It's tough to say because we don't know what like evolution is like. Like who knows what humans are going to be like in 100 years from now? You're going to have guys 9 feet tall, 800 pounds playing. Like it's
CRISPR. You're
running
CRISPR.
4.2s.
You can pick what you want with your kids in the petri dish. They all want blue eyes, long curly hair. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a different world. Maybe in 100 years. We'll see, but I think the NFL, it's not going anywhere.
No, it's one of the most successful companies in the world. I mean, and you look at like the concussion stuff and everything. Like I feel like for the most part, and as a former player, you would have a better idea about this. But I feel like they've basically dodged that bullet. I mean, it's still obviously in like the discussions in terms of the NFL, but it's not anywhere near as like explosive of a topic as it was 4 to 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's not, but all it takes is one
That's
event
true.
to happen to really push it back into the limelight. And for the people that it is an issue, like the CT and all of the brain damage, for those people that are like 100% bought in, like this is like football's terrible for you, you shouldn't play, you shouldn't let your kids play. For those people, it's on the tip of their tongues every day.
Mm-hmm.
They're fighting for it. But there is like weird stuff coming out about the doctor who kind of identified CTE. There's some kind of shady stuff there, and there's other doctors coming out saying, well, if he considers like the threshold that he considers this brain damage CTE, like we don't have the same threshold. Like we wouldn't call it. We wouldn't say this person has as much damage. Like I've only read some headlines about a lot of it, but that's the problem is we don't know. Like there's so much we don't know. Any doctor I've ever talked to, I'm like, I remember 5-6 years ago asking guys like, hey, like, is this legit? Like, is this real? How real is this? He's like, well, yeah, it's a thing. It's absolutely a thing. Brain damage happens and CTE is real, but we just don't know. Like, we are so early in the process of trying to understand what brain damage is or what football will do. And also, when did you get that damage? What if you played in the NFL for 1 year and 15, 20 years down the road, you have really bad brain trauma? Do you blame it on that 1 year in the NFL, or do you blame it on the 15 years you played before that? I don't know.
Well, and you look at even like the Aaron Hernandez situation. You know, they said that by the time he was dead, he had the brain of like an 85-year-old man. So, like, obviously that all didn't happen when he was in the NFL. And does that have to do with something with like brain chemistry? Is there other things that factor into that? Because from the layman's perspective, like, you should technically have just as good of a chance to have CTE as anyone. I mean, you know, you
should have more of a chance.
Yeah, exactly.
More,
yeah, your profession was slamming your head into things for, 10 years. So, like, the fact that you've never had a concussion, you're not stumbling over your words, you can still walk around. Like, I don't know, it's tough to diagnose.
Yeah, the scary thing is like when does that hit?
Right.
For some people.
Well, do you think, I mean, at this point, you've been removed from the league for what, 5 years now? It's like
a couple, maybe 3 now.
I mean, is it going to be just like a quick onset kind of thing, or do you think you're out of the?
Well, also that's the other thing that makes it so confusing. What is normal aging compared to what is brain trauma? That's
right.
The thing too. Like, hey, oh man, I forgot my keys 3 times this week.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first off, I leave my keys in my car. I don't ever take them out of my car, so I can't do that. But what you need to do, what is normal? What's the aging process, and what is brain trauma? Like, what if you're 58 years old and something happens, you can't figure out you forgot to tie your right shoe? Like, is that brain trauma, or am I just getting older? Like, things like that. I mean, that might be a bad example. Like, forgetting to tie one shoe, you might have some brain injuries if you forget to tie one shoe. I don't know. That's a bad mistake to make. But yeah, like, I don't know. That's what I think. I don't really have a strong stance one way or the other. People like to ask me, I have 4 kids, 3 boys. Are you going to let them play football? Yeah, they already play flag football, a couple of them, and they can play. I'm not going to stop them, but I'll pay very close attention to what happens in practice and what happens in games. And I don't want them playing for some idiot coach that has them doing Oklahoma drill in 3rd grade at practice. Like, there's no reason to bang heads in practice like that.
Right? Isn't that the most
But
important?
I did,
part?
and it was awesome. By the way.
But isn't that the most important part? Is you get coaches at a lower level who actually teach these kids how to tackle correctly. I mean, obviously, there's always going to be plays where you can't account for anything, but you couple that with the fact that you were a very good NFL player. Isn't that part of it more important than anything else?
Yeah, and it's changed a ton. I have friends that coach tackle football like 5th and 6th grade, and they have to they almost have to get certified for this new way that they teach kids how to tackle. A lot of it came from like Pete Carroll, Seattle, like rugby style tackling. Like, we're always taught growing up, head in front. Always get your head in front of the defender, so he can't just run you over. Like, if he runs you over, you're gonna be a speed bump and you whatever. Now, like, they're going head behind in like these weird gator roll tackle to keep your head out of it. And I had a friend who he played football at Ohio State before me, and he's coaching his kid, and he was explaining it to me. I'm like, man, this is stupid. And then as I'm listening, he goes, no, listen, believe me, I was completely against this. And then I started doing it and watching it, and he's like, it's pretty legit. Like, it's pretty good. And he enjoys that. He thinks it's actually pretty good, and it helps with the safety of the game. And he gave me a bunch of reasons of actually why, like, there's going to be missed less tackles and less friendly fire from your safeties coming in, and some reading their head into the back of your head. Like, that's an issue too.
Yeah.
Like, friendly fire is usually some of the worst damage you'll take when one of your teammates is coming to try to finish off a running back or somebody, and just bam, you catch a shot to the temple or the chin. Those are the ones that are not fun at all. And then you got to fight your own teammate while you're wobbly on the field.
Yeah, and those are the ones that you're never going to be able to protect against. You know what I mean? Like, if that's going to happen, it's going to happen.
If there's helmets on, if you're wearing a helmet, you're going to use it.
Right.
It's a weapon. It's not a protective device. Your helmet is a weapon if you're wearing it in the game of football, and it has to be. Now, we can take away some of those times you use it as a weapon, or how you use it as a weapon. Yeah, you don't want them lowering your head, using the crown of your helmet. You want to use more like head up, neck up. If you're making contact, get your face mask in your forehead. But it's still a weapon. It's not a protective device when it comes to football. The only way to take the head out of it is to take the helmet off. And that wouldn't be the NFL.
Right.
That'd be rugby.
Shout out to Myles Garrett. It can also be a weapon when you're not wearing it.
Great point. And if your wingspan is that of Shaquille O'Neal, it is a huge weapon, because you can hit guys in the 3rd row from 50-yard line. He's amazing, man. Myles Garrett, I love that. I mean, I think he's a stud player. It's unfortunate what happened. They're going to reinstate him. He'll be back. And what do you think? Brown's going to win the Super Bowl next year? No?
They're already ringing that bell, so we'll see.
Baker went on the redemption tour, but he also took a little jab at Rex Ryan during his talk when he made the "I put my foot in my mouth" comment. But Baker very, very positive reviews from Baker down at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how he does this year. I think it helps, you get rid of that stooge, Freddie Kitchens, too.
You don't like Freddie?
No.
Stooge.
Yeah.
Why? Explain what you don't like. What if they would have won? What if they would have went?
They didn't, though.
12. All right, you're right. You win. I usually say I don't deal in hypotheticals. You're right. They didn't.
Right.
That's my bad. What a dumb question for me.
Well, no, it's just the way I look at it. You looked at him in interviews and everything. It's just this guy is not a head coach in the NFL. He can't handle the media. He's tripping over his own feet at every turn. And then on the field they stunk and they had all this hype going in. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, Kevin Stefanski, I don't know if he's the answer, but I think a change of culture down there is definitely what they needed.
I mean, the only problem is they change the culture every year and a half.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. You guys had Hugh Jackson on here, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hugh was good. Hugh was the offensive coordinator in Cincinnati my 1 year on the Bengals, and he was a heck of an offensive coordinator. He was fun. He'd walk through the locker room whistling, singing, dancing. I enjoyed being around him. It's one thing though to from being just because you're a great coordinator doesn't mean you're going to be a great head coach.
Right.
And also you got to be in the right situation at the right time, and it's very, very difficult to where Hugh Jackson was placed with the Browns. It was an uphill climb. We knew that going in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, he didn't handle it great, and I think Hard Knocks hurt him a little bit. I think
sure.
Having the cameras in there for those staff meetings when he kind of shut down some back and forth banter with his assistants, I think that, for me at least, that was horrible to see.
Yeah.
When a guy tries to chime in and have say something that'll help the team, then Hugh kind of gets defensive when you're the guy, when you're sitting in this seat, that's when you make those decisions. I'm like, nah, man, that's not what a leader does. A leader takes it all in and kind of removes the emotion and removes the ego from it and doesn't just say my way or the highway. This is it. If you're against me, then get out of here.
And by all accounts, it seems like with the ownership up there, it doesn't really
That's
matter
where it starts.
what you do anyway, because that's just a jumbled
Haslam's
mess.
boy is DePodesta from Moneyball.
Yeah.
That's what's the weird thing. I think that's why they were having a hard time, too, when they're bringing in different coaches to interview, because DePodesta has tons of control over the roster and all the analytics stuff, so you had to be on board with him. It's kind of a weird spot if you're the head coach there, because DePodesta is the owner's right-hand man, and he doesn't live there. I think he lives in California most of the year.
Yep.
Greatest job ever.
Yeah, seriously.
I wish I had that job.
I'd be interested to hear what you think about just the analytics push in general, because you don't seem like the kind of guy who really buys into
what are
any of that.
analytics. You know what? Hold on to that. We're going to get back to that when we come back from break. I'm going to talk to Ty Schmidt a little bit about this. We're going to dive deep into what in the world analytics are and that word we hear thrown around so much. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
At Simple Mobile, you get the no-contract advantage. Unlimited talk, text, and data now for $30 a month. Now on a 5G-ready network with no activation fees and no contract ever. That's our best deal ever. Simple Mobile, out with the old, in with the simple.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. I'm AJ Hawk, sitting in all week for Pat. Before we went to break, we mentioned analytics and what exactly that means. I wanted to ask Ty Schmidt, when you hear the word analytics, what does that mean to you?
Just all the numbers and the mumbo jumbo in between what's actually happening on the field that now like all teams are moving towards to like increase their win probability, I guess. And I think like you look at it in baseball, WAR is like a huge stat, wins above replacement. And in baseball, I think it makes a little bit more sense in terms of analytics because there are so many numbers. And like you mentioned, Moneyball, like they found a way to essentially beat the system, have a super low payroll, and still win, put a team on the field who could win games. But in football, I don't know. It seems like there are so many things that can decide a game that like analytics can't really prepare you for.
Yeah, I guess so. The guy, his name is Warren Sharp, and he writes a lot of things. He does all these super in-depth studies and shows like all the stats and what teams are good at, what they're not so good at. He had a really like a 65-page PDF file leading up to the Super Bowl about both teams, what they're good at, what they're not, like what the numbers show, what you're kind of blinded by from hearing in the media. Oh, this team is so good. I remember going into the Super Bowl, Warren Sharp said how the Niners are the talk about it is they're really good in the red zone. For their defense is good in the red zone. And Warren Sharp said, no, they're not. They just don't let anybody get to the red zone. When they're in the red zone, they're actually pretty bad, and they're giving up a lot of points. But their defense has played well enough to not let teams in the red zone. So little things here and there. Like when I think of analytics, first off, I don't know what all comes into it. I know there's different levels of it, I think, where you can have like in-game stats to show and to help you. All right, 4th and 2 on our own 38-yard line. What are the odds here? What if we run the ball compared to throwing the ball? What should we do? What better chance of winning do we have if we get this first down versus if they stop us? Like all those little things like that. Like to me, it's information. It's a piece of the puzzle. It's not the be-all, end-all. And it seems like this Browns job that we were mentioning, you had to really be all in and on board with this whole analytics situation with DePodesta and the owner, and like Stefanski sounds like he is, but I just don't know. I would love to see like a comparison from team to team and coach to coach, how much one team uses all that info compared to another.
Well, I know it was either Steven or Jerry Jones mentioned earlier this year. He's like, we have that stuff at our disposal, but whether we use it, like, I don't know if that really matters in terms of outcome of games. Like when you played in Green Bay, there wasn't like an analytics department or something like that, was there?
There wasn't like an analytics department, but we had a guy that, I don't know if the word even analytics was being thrown around back then. We had a guy that kind of did all of the non-X and O's type things. He would speak to us a couple times a week and talk about like the weather, the referee, like the crew who's coming in, like, hey, they call a lot of defensive pass interference. They're low on offensive holding. Like this is what they're looking for. This is what the numbers have shown compared to other referee crews, stuff like that. And then during the game, he's on a headset, and the head coach can go to him at any time, and he's also like chiming in his ear and can say, hey, if we get a first down here, let's hold off and don't call our timeout. Let's wait, and we'll call this last timeout later. Like little things like that. That's very valuable, I think.
So he was like Ernie Adams?
Kind of, yeah. Is Ernie on the sidelines for games?
I'm not sure.
He's not on the sidelines, but, he's watching every game. He's in the booth.
I'm not saying I'm going to put him on Ernie's level. I know Ernie's a genius, a mad genius that everybody wants to get some info from. But, yeah, it was kind of like that to where I saw that as a very valuable thing on game day at least. And that's not really even analytics. That's just like clock management, all the little things that a head coach, especially Mike McCarthy, he's calling the plays too. Right. He's not just the CEO like, oh, hey, good job, offense, clapping up. Like he's living it. He's in it. He's calling the plays. So there's a lot going on that you need somebody to help. That's what I think is really interesting. But to have somebody sit there, let's say you call a timeout, it's 4th and 1, and you're in a playoff game, and you have some guy like, well, the odds, you have a 48% chance of winning if you go for it and you get this, but you have a 42% chance of winning if you don't get it. Like 6%, you're going to tell like it's a 6% difference? Like, no, get out of here, bud. Like, and drop kick him in the face. Like, you don't want that guy around. So I don't know. It's like anything. Nothing is black and white. Nothing is like right or wrong. Like there's context, there's nuance. Like you have to think about it like that. It's one little piece of the puzzle. It's one piece of information that I will use to help make better decisions in the future.
And I think another reason it's so hard for just like fans and people to understand it and digest it, Pat talks about it all the time. You got like PFF, who that's what their job is. They look at all this information, all these analytics, and like for a punter, you know exactly what you're looking for. It's like, okay, did he do his job or didn't he? But with defensive players, it's like they don't, a lot of times don't know what the scheme dictates, like what his actual
Nobody knows what the scheme is. Even players on the field sometimes don't know who made the mistake to give up that touchdown until the next day when you get in the film and you watch it.
Exactly. So that makes it almost impossible to like really digest that stuff and be like, oh, well, we can actually point to this. Like, this is a reason why this guy didn't perform well or why they didn't win this week. I mean, it's obviously not really like that.
It's tough. Yeah, football's just so different when it comes to that, where you don't know whose responsibility it was. You don't know. Yeah, you can kind of get an idea of who's good and who's not as good, maybe. But when you really can say this guy is far and away the seventh best offensive guard in the NFL, nope, nobody knows that. It's not a thing. It's like arguing the greatest of all time, the stupid GOAT argument. There's no answer. R.I.P. to Kobe. Kobe said before he died, unfortunately, Kobe's like, there's not an answer. There's no, we can sit here and argue about this all we want. You want to go MJ, Kobe, LeBron, whoever, whatever you want to talk about. Sure, it's fun for people to talk about, but there's no answer. It's a subjective thing, and Kobe even said that. And that's how kind of grading football players. It's not completely subjective, but part of it is you don't exactly know. We have no idea if a coach is asking certain players to do things that may look like he's out of position on certain plays or whatever. Just coaches, stuff happens when you're part of a scheme. There's just so many moving parts to try to 100% say, oh, I know exactly how good this guy is. No, you don't.
Well, and I wonder if the NFL is kind of pushing for individual teams to kind of build these departments because they've kind of moved towards to the next gen stats and stuff like that and the importance of those. So, I mean, they must believe in it a little bit because more and more teams are starting to go out and hire these guys from Harvard and Yale who have these
I would hire them.
Yeah, these complex, numerical models that can break down, what you do in every situation of the game. I mean, I guess that does help you out a little bit.
Yeah, I would absolutely. I'd hire him. I mean, you're an NFL team. Your team is worth billions of dollars. Mm-hmm. They should absolutely be on staff. And some weeks you may use a lot of their information, and it may affect some of your play calling and how you attack the other team. And some weeks it might not. I think it's game to game, day to day. But it's another piece of the puzzle that I need if I'm making decisions, especially using those guys too when you're scouting college guys and free agents. I think that can help there too. But at some point, GMs, coaches have to trust their instincts and lean on those instincts. Like Bill Belichick, he uses analytic stuff as well. Yes, he does. He may say he doesn't, but he's using it. He studies everything because he's smart and he wants to win a game at all costs. He doesn't care, but he's also trusting his football instincts too and what he sees on the field on game day. He can look into his players' eyes and know if they should go for it or they shouldn't or how it's been going throughout that game. You can't just lean on one thing ever to make any decision in the NFL. I mean, there's no question.
Yeah, and it seems like at the end of the day, the teams who have guys like that in place are the teams who are the most successful.
Yeah, Mike McCarthy, Dallas Cowboys.
Yep.
I would love to get his view on analytics. He's a Pittsburgh tough guy. I can see him really giving the side eye to some little analytics guy trying to tell him what he should or shouldn't be doing. But he will I guarantee you he'll if they have analytics people there, he'll look at it, he'll take it into account when he's trying to make decisions and build the game plan. He's going to use it. Just how much is the question?
I would think those guys would be an easy scapegoat too. It's like if you listen
I would
to
dump it on him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'd dump it on him for sure. Well, Coach, why'd you go for it there on 4th and 13, backed up on your own 20-yard line? Well, talk to my analytics guy. Talk to Pete. He's right there. Owner wanted to bring him in. I didn't want him. There he is. Right there, guys. Here, he'll come up here. Actually, I'm going to get off here. He's got it. Pete's up here. Yeah, you could dump it on him. Not a very nice thing to do. I don't know. Let's go to the phones. I want to go to Adrian in Florida. Question about the XFL. What's up, Adrian?
How's it going, AJ?
Oh, it's going well. How you doing? We got about 30 minutes left in this show. What's going on? How'd you like the XFL?
I like the XFL, and I believe it can be successful. They just need to continue on the track that they're starting at the end of the NFL season, right after the Super Bowl, a week right after. It helps a lot of the players because right after the Super Bowl, I know I do, and I know a lot of other people, they get that feeling like, damn, we don't have a lot of time. We have a long time until the next season, until we even start talking about the next season with the combine, with free agency, all that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think they have this sweet spot right now. When does March Madness start?
Yeah, about a month and a half.
Yeah, so they know that this is their time to grab people's attention before March Madness kicks off, I think. Adrian, I'm curious about the sustainability. Like, do you think this will be around 3 years from now?
3 years? I believe so.
Really? Are
Yeah,
people going to
because I feel
continue
like
to come to the games in person and tune in?
Yes. I believe that they're going to continue to try to get college players who were great in college, kind of like Cardale Jones. Cardale Jones is great in college. He won a national championship, but he just couldn't make it in the NFL. And people are going to want to see those players and see how they're doing, see what they can bring to the table.
Yeah, I appreciate the call, Adrian. Thank you. I'm just
all right. Thank you, AJ.
All right. The sustainability for me is always the question. Cardale Jones, yeah, he went to Ohio State. The thing about it is, though, a guy like Cardale, like, he could play his way back in the NFL.
Exactly.
He could easily be on a roster in training camp and find a way to earn a job. And look at Kurt Warner. He's the guy everyone points to. Arena League, was stocking shelves at a grocery store to winning the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And
can we say this
Hall of Fame?
Can we say this to be a good farm system?
No, because NCAA college football is the farm system. But maybe I'm going to see what'll be interesting to see some hotshot high school quarterback not go to college, play in the XFL for 3 years.
Yeah,
they're going to have to, if he gets paid $500K or more a year, I could see a guy skipping college. But man, 3 years though, that's a little risky.
I think the main difference in terms of sustainability is you have Vince McMahon backing it. You have a billionaire backing the league.
How much money does he want to continue to dump?
Exactly. And it seems like, he's the kind of guy who obviously carries a chip on his shoulder. This is like the XFL was the one thing in his career that didn't pan out the way he thought it would. So I think he is on board with doing whatever he has to do to make sure this is successful.
With the early success, AJ, do you think that this might push some players, though, that are on practice squads? Like, hey, look, I could be getting way more face time if I go to the XFL. Why waste my time on a practice squad?
That's a great question. If you're signed to an active NFL roster right now, could you go play in the XFL? Yeah, I don't know. You probably can't. No, you couldn't go play in the XFL right now if you're on a roster. Mm-hmm. But if you're a bubble guy, a lot of guys are getting signed right now because you can have 90 guys on the team in the NFL, so it's hard to pick those guys up. But I guess all it's going to take for the XFL too is some of these guys like Cardale Jones, like these guys that people know their name, for them to continue to play at a high level and make some kind of exciting, crazy endings to games, or somebody gets knocked out or drops the F-bomb live and they mute the next 6 seconds for some reason, things like that. But they also need to find a way to – I bet Vince McMahon also – he knows like how successful this first weekend was, but also he's probably all right, we got to pump the brakes a little bit. Like, we knew we were going to come out of the gate hot, but like you said earlier, he's playing the long game. Mm-hmm. He wants this to be a legit league for a long, long time. And I guess it could be a little bit of a feeder system to the NFL as long as they can find a way to continue to pay the players and a decent amount of people show up in the stands to make it look like an appealing product when you watch on TV, because that's where the money is. Your money's in the TV deals. Your money's not from selling season tickets.
Yeah.
For $300, I can get season tickets to this team play. Like, that's not where you're making your money, and hot dogs and selling beer in the stadium. That's not where all the money is. The money is from the TV deal. So I just think you need people in the stands so it feels like a big-time atmosphere.
Well, and with the money aspect, I think we worked it on the show last week. If you're on a practice squad for the entire season, I think you make about $113,000. But for those kind of guys, like, is it more worth it to maybe, like, a guy goes down and you get bumped up to the active roster and you get that NFL game check? Like, that's playing 2 years of full games in the XFL.
Yeah. If you have a chance to find a way to make an NFL team, you're going to try to make that NFL team, I would imagine. But you never know. Like, we don't know where it's going to go from here. How many games are in the XFL season?
I think it's a 10-week season.
And then what's the Super Bowl called?
Yesterday on Twitter called for the McMahon Cup, but I don't. I don't know. I don't know if we've actually heard what the name of it is yet.
Didn't in the original XFL wasn't it called the Big Game at the End?
I think so. Yeah.
Let's bring that back.
I don't hate that.
I don't either. I have a buddy who his name's RJ Clifford. I do an MMA show with him on SiriusXM, and he was leading into it. He was upset. He's like, "No, I watched the XFL to watch people get brain damage, to watch crazy things happen, to have these Braveheart scrums for the kickoff for the ball or whatever, and just have all the wackiness that is the XFL. I want the anti-NFL," is what he wanted, which is what the first XFL kind of was. This one, they obviously can't do that. I try to explain it to him, like, they can't do it, man. Like, you're getting in lawsuits everywhere. Like, you can't have no rules on helmet to helmet, all these things. But I haven't talked to him yet. But I would imagine he was excited about the first weekend and he liked it. And I think that's the overwhelming sense I'm getting is that people think, I don't know if people are 100% sold it's going to be sustainable, but I think they know, like, hey, I think this season will be fun to watch, and I'll tune in most of the time.
Well, and I think, like you mentioned to start the show, managing expectations is the most important part. Like, you can't go out watching one of these games and expecting to see, like, the product you'd see in, like, Packers-Chiefs or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the same thing, but it's football when we don't have it.
Even if it is really, really, really good football, but you don't really know anybody playing, does it matter?
Yeah, no, not really.
Yeah.
I guess the original one was called the $1 Million Game.
I don't know where I got the big game from at the end. Maybe that's what they should do for this one.
That's not bad.
How much do we know how much you get if you win it all in the XFL?
Not at all. I just know you get a big, big paycheck if you win it all.
Really? Yeah. Everybody on the team?
I believe so.
And the coaches got to be getting paid well, too. You got Bob Stoops, Jerry Glanville, Winston Moss. You got some big-time dudes
Hamilton,
over there.
Jim Zorn.
Yes, and you're mic'd up, too. You know that your mic may be going live over the airwaves for everybody to hear you stumble over your play call, maybe get a delay a game, forget to call a timeout, or cuss out your quarterback. That's where you need the delays, I guess. Who was it, ESPN, Diana Rossini, is that her name?
Oh, yeah.
I saw a little bit of the game she was calling where she's trying to run up and get players to do interviews. Like, it can – man, that's just – I wouldn't be very good at that job.
Do the coaches even know that they're being broadcasted? Because half of them are still covering their mouth with
Jim
their
Zorn,
play
big
sheet.
time, yeah.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Well, I wonder how much of a delay it is because if I'm the opposing team, I'm sitting in the booth with a live TV copy of the game with a headset, one little earbud in, and I'm listening, and I'm trying to find a way to call down to my defense what I just heard. Maybe they have rules where the coaches, you can't have TV monitors in the booth or they got to have something, but it would be, you'd have to do it very quickly. It would be like the Houston Astros level of timing when they bang on the trash can.
Oh, yeah.
But if you could somehow listen to the call and relay that into your defense or offense, that's next level. You know they've already thought of that, though.
Oh, yeah. How hard is it to change your calls every week? Because they're not going to use the same ones, right?
No, they're going to have to. They're not going to change the terminology. There's no way you're changing that terminology. Some of those coaches have had that same terminology for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like everyone knows your play calls already if they just watch the game back, the broadcast.
You know what? Like I would say good luck. Here's what we're going to do, bud. Stop us. My high school coach said that because we had a player, I think, lose his playbook or something, and our coach was obviously mad at him, but he's like, good. You know what we're going to do? We're running the triple option every play. He's like, I'll tell you exactly what we're going to run offensively. Good luck stopping us. You still have to stop us. And it's true. It's football. It's not anything else. Just like in the Astros cheating scandal in baseball. Hey, I may know an off-speed pitch is coming. I still got to find a way to make contact. Like is it cheating? Absolutely. It shouldn't have happened.
A little bit easier.
But I still got to hit the ball.
True.
So in football, even if I know what they're running, still got to stop them. Still got to win my one-on-one battle. I agree. You shouldn't be cheating like that. But it's not like a guarantee win. That's not at all what it is. So football is just a little bit different. We're going to get to a break here quickly. When we come back, I want to touch on the Oscars a little bit more. Brad Pitt, Eminem, everybody. Bunch of movies I haven't seen yet. Come on back. We'll be with you for a short time here, taking you to the top of the hour. Thanks. Come right back.
It's happening. People are freeing themselves from their wireless contracts. It's a movement towards something simple. Get truly unlimited data on a 5G-ready network for just $45 a month, with no contract ever. Simple Mobile. Out with the old, in with the simple.
Here we go. Welcome back. Pat McAfee Show. I'm AJ Hawk. bringing this thing home first day, 10 to 12 Eastern here. Had a good time so far today, guys. We're not over. Show's not over yet. Don't worry. I will be here the rest of this week. So I mentioned the Oscars before we went to break. And, I mean, honestly, I feel like it was an uneventful Oscars. I didn't see all of it. I saw a lot of the clips. Saw a lot that happened. Uh-oh. Who is this guy Skyping in? He's flying commercial. He's never flown commercial in the last 3 years, I feel like.
It's a flight to Hawaii, man. You can't get a private plane to Hawaii. You just can't do it. You just can't do it. The lights would go off in the studio if I was to do that. I want to let you know, AJ, I think you've done a great job with the boys today. I've enjoyed watching. I've enjoyed listening. I think your brain's a good one. You had to deal with a Zito production up in the front where you thought a clip was coming, but it was nowhere near it. And I'm very thankful for you, brother.
Well, hey, I appreciate you letting me come do this. I'm wondering, first off, tell us exactly where you're going, the address, and how long you'll be there.
I am headed to Hawaii. I'll be there, I think, for 7 to 10 days. We will find out on whether or not the return flight is booked in advance. I thought the Oscars were stupid last night. I'm a milk user, so that was a tough speech from Joaquin. I don't know how to take it. And the XFL had a great weekend, Mr. Hawk, but not as good as you have done today for the first hour and, 40 minutes here.
Yeah, you say the Oscars were bad?
Just boring.
Well, who cares? I don't care about the Oscars at all. Like, I don't know. I don't get it. I understand it's fun to talk about, and Joaquin Phoenix is a bit out there, and Eminem is killing it to a really difficult crowd.
See, Scorsese was falling asleep there with old Marshall Mathers coming out. But everybody who knows, it's like Billie Eilish was too young, too. She doesn't even know that song's supposed to get you hyped. Mm-hmm. It's just like that happy medium crowd understood that if you wanted to get hyped back in the day, that was the go-to song. And now Eminem looks like he was a little bit out of breath. He didn't hit every single word. He sounded a little soft on there. But it was great to see a little piece of our childhood get ready to run through a wall again, while the upper elites over there from old Hollywood had no idea what was happening on the stage.
Oh, yeah. What about his beard, his little half beard he sports? Do you think he puts any Just for Men in there?
I need to do it right now, man. Look how weak this is. By the way, I was on such a good run with the diet, and then my lady and I just ate everything at McDonald's this morning at the airport. Had to do it. Also.
Let's go.
I had to get the bugles for the trip. Let's see what else. The Ritz Bits. Had to get the Ritz Bits.
Okay.
Chewy Chips Ahoy. Oh. Peanut M&Ms for the boys.
Let's go.
You got to be kidding. Are you on all the vitamins? What are we doing?
Excuse me. Yes, always. Know that I got this also. Protein bar, AJ.
There you go. Good job.
Protein bar for when I'm going to get off the plane to really feel like I'm a health nut.
So you just spent $112 at one of those little stores in the airport?
It was a 7-Eleven, and this doesn't count for what my lady got. I think she took out the other half of the convenience store, to be honest with you. She just swore she can't do that. I mean, the language is offensive. Please, this isn't the XFL.
Pat's talking to
fried chicken.
The stewardess, I guess. Right
fried
now.
Chicken? You got a P.F. Chang's on that plane?
Yeah. One of the other options were a pumpkin tortelloni. Okay, I'm not going to get that, obviously, because I'm American. Then there was the sweet and sour eggplants. Can't do that. I mean, honestly, what are we doing here? And then I did order the gourmet cheese plate, which is something that I think you should really pull the trigger on when you're with these yuppies up here in first class.
Pat, you said you're going to be there 7 to 10 days. I was talking to Ty during the break about this. Are you going to go like stir crazy being gone that long?
Yeah, I get island fever about day 3, but I have to act as if I love it because this is obviously an anniversary trip. My lady and I got engaged 366 days ago, so I'm lucky to be with the love of my life. We can't wait to get to Hawaii and enjoy this. But anytime I'm on an island for more than 3 days, it gets a little, I start pacing back and forth. It gets to that point. But she absolutely is the love of my life, and I'm very, very lucky that she is really happy that I'm coming. You know what I mean? I mean, look at that. She's excited. Look at that.
So what do you, like, honest though, after day 3, what do you do? Like, wake up, have breakfast, and then what?
I'll inhale probably about an entire island's worth of vitamins, and then I'll just stare at the ocean and figure out what our life's going to be. I think trying to figure out my life. I'll golf maybe out there with the lady if we can figure it out. I think it's only like $4,000 a round or whatever, so we'll probably do a little bit of that. Then I think it's a little tennis. My lady and I want to get into tennis because we're becoming a fit fam. I mean, there's a lot to do out there, AJ. You just don't get it because you're not into fitness enough.
You're right. I mean, I guess, do you bring your little goodie bag of Bugles and Snickers and M&M peanuts to the tennis courts to let everybody know you're serious about fitness?
These things are going to be knocked out on this flight, probably within the first 10 minutes before the Xanax hits me. That's going to knock me out. You know what I mean? So I got to inhale all this food before we get to the island. And then there's a real, like, Japanese flavor at the hotel we're heading to. So I'm about to eat some very, very high-end stuff, I think. So I got to get the Bugles down, the Chewy Chips Ahoy down, because my taste buds are about to be introduced to a whole different world here in about 10 hours.
Well, you have a very cultured palate. I know I've heard you talk about that, so you're going to really enjoy that food. What about your performance last night with the XFL and almost getting Troy Aikman killed? How did you enjoy the overall experience?
I don't know, man. I mean, I thought the XFL had a great kickoff weekend. I thought the level of play was a lot better than I think anybody could have expected. I think the reaction on Twitter was awesome. I think it was the access was a lot of fun. I don't know if I'm the guy who's supposed to be in a position to ask for permission to speak and stuff like that, but it was an honor. It was an honor to be a part of the opening weekend. I had no clue how many more games I'll do, but I enjoyed it out there.
Now, I sense some anger, some kind of emotion boiling under the surface there when you talk about asking permission to speak. Walk us through what that means.
AJ, don't be stupid, all right? I'm a sideline guy, okay? So to get in, I got to really find my time.
When you want to talk, you just talk, right?
For...
No, you just talk, I thought. Your mic's always on. Don't you just talk? You're Pat McAfee.
That's what I thought. That's why I signed up. By the way, what you just said is what I thought was happening, you know? I mean, sell out 6,000-seat theaters with just me and a microphone, and then we get into something like this. It's like, no, you got to ask for permission to speak and all that stuff. I enjoyed it. Tom Hart was very nice. Joey Galloway was very nice. I'm not sure the sideline position is the right position for me, asking for permission to speak. But it was cool talking to the coaches and the players during the game. I think the XFL is going to do well. I honestly do, and I think after meeting with Stoops and Coach Hayes and the staff and kind of getting a glimpse behind the curtain, I think they're very focused on having a good product, and I think that's going to be a big deal for them.
So is there a time during that game when you push a little talkback button, you say, hey, guys, I got something here. What happens when they don't go to you? They say, shut up, Pat. No, you don't. What happens?
I stood with Oliver Luck for like 15 minutes before I was allowed to interview him. I'm like, at one point I was like, we got the commissioner of the league standing here. Is there any way? And they're like, oh, we got to fit it in. We got to fit it in. It's just like, if that was me, as soon as I get to Oliver Luck, I'm like, well, Oliver Luck's here. Let's get to it. Here we go. Blah, blah, blah. It's just, that's not how it works though, AJ. It's not how, it's bigger than me. It's bigger than me. I understand that. Even if you look on the internet, I don't think that's the case, but it is bigger than me. And I had to swallow that last night.
What a beautiful long pause by Pat right there when he sat there and thought, it's bigger than me. We knew he didn't believe it. It's bigger than me. Bigger than me, long pause, let it sit in for like 9 seconds, and then say, well, no, look at the internet. It's not. I am much bigger than it.
No. The XFL is going to succeed because of a lot of people. I was lucky to be a part of it, but I'm not 100% sure that's something I will be great at for the long haul. All right, we're about to take off.
You're about to take off. We're about to wrap the show here in a minute or two, but thanks for calling in, Pat. I appreciate you letting me come join your little fun house.
My little fun house. It's very nice of you. Thanks for coming by the fun house.
Well, this is like if you're a rich male, you build a place like this.
Amen.
Here we go.
All right. You're welcome back anytime. I enjoyed the show. Did you enjoy it? How did you think you did?
It's fun. I've never done a show just me, just solo like this, so it's fun. I think the whole week as it goes is going to be fun. I mean, I got all you guys help me, so they're great.
You called him Cuban Zito. It's Cuban Zeet, by the way. I heard Ty there early was off to a hot. They were trying to build a brand here.
Zeet.
AJ, okay, let's make sure
It's Zito.
It's Cuban Zeet.
No, it's Cuban Zeet.
We'll see about that. We'll see how the week goes.
Hey, I got some other much worse NFL players and much worse people on the microphone on speed dial. Okay, I'm getting tapped right now. I got to get out of here. I will see you. Thanks for everything. Have a great one.
Thank you, Pat.
Safe travels, boss.
Well, hey, that's good. It's good to see the boss man call in. You guys surprised me. I didn't know that. He's on a plane, first class, obviously, to Hawaii for 7 to 10 days. I can't wait. We need Pat to call in Friday. See how crazy he is.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to lose his mind. But that is going to conclude the first show of the week here, Monday, February 10th, the Pat McAfee Show. I'm AJ Hawk. I will be back tomorrow and the rest of the week, 10 to 12 Eastern. Thank you very much. The Pat McAfee Show. I'm AJ Hawk. We'll see you later.
Good shit.
At Simple Mobile, you get the no contract advantage. Unlimited talk, text, and data now for $30 a month. Now on a 5G ready network with no activation fees ever. No confusion, no complexity, no frustration, and no contract. Ever, ever, ever. Now get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a month. And now 5G ready. It's our best deal ever. Buy yours now at nationwide retailers or at Simple Mobile dealers.